Hey guys, Acer Thorn here, and, well, Chuggaaconroy has finally spoken out. He has finally, addressed the accusations that were levied against him that basically got him cancelled. For the record, this is coming out exceptionally early. Like, ridiculously early for me. Like, a little bit more than 3 hours ago, Chuggaaconroy posted his tweet on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. So I am learning about this while it's hot off the press. I do not even have an outline in front of me, let alone a script, because I just want to get this recorded ASAP. But basically, he has released a Google Docs file where he explains in great detail his side of the story regarding all three of the allegation of his accusers, Maseae, Lady Emily, and of course of the worst of the three of them, Lolly. Now, here's the thing. He has basically addressed all of these things in ways that, in my opinion, basically just clear his name. Let's start with Maseae first, because that's the one he's listed first in his letter, in his public letter to everyone. He said that they were actually dating, and at one point were even engaged to be married, but they underwent a breakup, so he gives us precisely 0 details. Unfortunately, I can only assume that Maseae is still bitter about the circumstances surrounding the breakup, but he has made it clear that he has respected her boundaries once she asserted them. Now, if that is incorrect, then I challenge Maseae to come forth with far more specific accusations against Chuggaaconroy. As I said in my Part 2 series of Chuggaa being cancelled, when I actually covered Maseae's allegations against him, I was egregiously annoyed by the fact that she basically just gave boilerplate accusations of pushing boundaries, but never gave any actual details. Now I want details more than ever, because Chuggaa insists that he respected her boundaries after she asserted them. Now, to be clear, there is a caveat to this. Now that we know that they were a couple, he has now made that clear. That is something none of us ever knew before. I had all assumed that they were just friends. So, there were some lines that he would have been permitted to cross initially, and then after the breakup, I can reasonably assume he might have some desire to reconcile and get back with her, but it was a transition period where he had to accept the breakup. Since he doesn't give us any details about how the relationship ended, I can only assume it ended because I can only assume that it was Maseae who dumped him, not the other way around, and therefore you can't just expect him to just accept it right on a dime that the relationship is over. He's gonna want closure. He's gonna want an explanation and stuff. So when Maseae complains about him not respecting her boundaries and not taking no for an answer, we need to know about that. We need to know some details, and the fact that he was heartbroken over the breakup is something that we need to keep in mind. That's a consideration that we need to keep in mind when we're reviewing Maseae's side of the story. Was Chuggaa just being a malicious pervert who just didn't respect women's boundaries? Or was it more human than that? Because given what Chuggaaconroy has said in these 4 paragraphs in this section regarding Maseae, I am heavily inclined towards the latter. Okay, now moving on to regarding Lady Emily. Basically, he confirmed precisely what I had speculated about all along. That the fetish itself was pretty tame, and that Lady Emily never really expressed her discomfort in any unambiguous ways. He offered to buy the shoes for her because she casually mentioned that her shoes were busted and she needed a new pair, and that her birthday was coming up anyway. So he agreed to buy the shoes for her, and he says he only asked once for her to send a picture of her wearing the shoes, and he says that only happened once anyway, and she agreed, and she allegedly agreed to that. So yeah, like I said in part 3 of this series, yes, I completely agree with Chuggaa on this. Like, Lady Emily is literally just making stuff up, is just looking for clout, basically. Like, Chuggaa's actions were downright tame, honest. In fact, not only that, but he now includes allegations, complete with screenshots, to prove it. So he has receipts himself now, where he says that Lady Emily, that he repeatedly checked in with her to make sure that she was okay with this, and that she repeatedly assured him that she was okay. Now Emil does say that his girlfriend, I assume after he broke up with Maseae, said that she was upset, she was uncomfortable about giving out her personal information, which, first of all, that doesn't make Emil a creep, but also she kind of has to give him her name and address so that he can send her the damn shoes. Like, how else is that going to work? Like, how else is that even supposed to happen? Like, so, basically, Chuggaa was very much attentive to the possibility of upsetting her. He repeatedly asked if he was crossing any boundaries. She said no, and then she turns around and tries to get him canceled by exposing him as a creep. Look, at this point, it isn't just her. She isn't just ineffectively giving her. She isn't just failing to communicate her consent. At this point, she's lying. Just capital L lying. So yes, fuck Lady Emily. And now it's time for the main event, Lolly. Oh, Lolly. Now, here's the thing. Like I said in part 3, we have no way of knowing what Lolly didn't include. And we should take these allegations of grooming with a grain of salt anyway, simply because, women are just using it, are just making these accusations like left, right, and center just for clout. So this is so I was already skeptical about this to begin with, and Chuggaaconroy is finally speaking out about it. Just confirmed what I had already said to begin with, that Lolly is basically just lying. Specifically, lying by omission. Now, the only thing he outright says didn't happen, Lolly says that he called her his pedo crush. Emil says he does not remember that. Okay. That doesn't mean Lolly is lying. But that's the only thing that she accused him of that he straight up denies having said. Just that he doesn't remember it. But he does say that she was lying by omission. In his exact words, I was an idiot teenager who made dirty jokes. I had no intention of doing anything to this person, quite the opposite in fact. This post is taking two separate things over a decade apart and showing them together. Boom. Lolly literally just doctored it up and tried to pass that off as him trying to groom her. Like, there's just no two ways about it here. Either Chuggaa is lying in this, telling his side of the story, and at which point I challenge Lolly to actually come forth with more specific evidence that is a lot harder for her to fake, just like what I had said earlier about Maseae, or Lolly is just straight up lying. In fact, even back in 2010, when these alleged pedo chats were still happening, Emil says that he even felt uncomfortable himself. Like, he was more uncomfortable about the conversations they were having than Lolly was. Like, here's another quote from this public post. Even given the time, if you still felt like that chat was getting out of hand, I agree with you. In fact, I agreed with that when I was 19. Lolly said she doesn't know why our chats ended so abruptly. I can tell you exactly why. It was because I disliked the direction of these chats and how young she was, and I've told her this numerous times. Oh my effing God. So here's the... Like, when it comes to Lady Emily, we had previously assumed that she had simply ineffectively communicated what her discomfort with Chuggaa's behavior, and that Chuggaa, being the autistic guy he was, simply failed to pick up on that. I had it's the same thing goes with Maseae. We don't know exactly what Emil did. We need to know the totality of the circumstances before we can judge him, and she hasn't given that. Okay, here, Emil says he did precisely what the Lady Emily should have done. That he said he didn't like what she was doing. He said that this made him uncomfortable, and she repeatedly ignored his attempts to step back. And he continues to write, after a few conversations, I took a step back and realized this could not continue. She would constantly initiate raunchy topics with my sick 19-year-old self. And then he continues to write, after a little while, things started to escalate and they sent a sexually explicit gift to my house. This made me realize they weren't being silly. They were romantically interested in me, not the other way around. The whole thing made me and my mother uncomfortable, and after deliberation, I not only rejected them, but cut all contact with them. Chuggaaconroy is 100% the victim here. 100%. He did precisely what Lady Emily should have done. He was very clear in his lack of interest. He was very clear in how uncomfortable these conversations made him. Then, when he turned her down, she then decided about 14 years later that she was gonna get revenge against him for rejecting him. You know, this reminds me of something. In my part 3 of this series, I provided you guys with a TikTok collection regarding Good Time Charlie. Basically, a 50-something-year-old man who was accused of being a groomer by a woman who he had rejected, and she got all pissy that he was rejecting her advances, so she decided to frame him for grooming. Now, fortunately, it was caught before any irreparable damage could be done, and she was charged with hacking into his account, his Discord account, so there was some justice in that case. But I included that in part 3, and I had no idea that it was going to be quite as relevant here, because here we have Lolly, who, according to Chuggaa, and admittedly this is just his word against hers, unlike the Good Time Charlie thing, we don't have any actual forensics proof. Like, the police have not actually issued an arrest warrant yet. But it's basically Chuggaa's word against Lolly's. But according to Chuggaa's version of events, he was uncomfortable with it escalating beyond just silliness. He cut all contact with this woman, and then she was bitter over the rejection and tried to frame him for grooming. Oh my, this is literally 100% what I warned you guys about in part 3. This is precisely the possibility that I was cautious about. Dear God. Chuggaa supposedly has his mother as a witness regarding the sexually explicit gift, so maybe he should talk to a lawyer and see about suing Lolly for libel. So, Chuggaaconroy has said that the stress from all of this harassment and exposing he received in the past few months has basically harmed him physically, harmed his body to the point where he had to be hospitalized. Basically, he lost about 8 pounds in a week, had internal bleeding, and all sorts of crap. Basically, he wasn't just taking a mental health break, he was literally getting physical health care too. Chuggaa, I hope you're watching this, and if there's anybody who is actually on speaking terms with Chuggaa who's seeing this, please send him this so that he can see it too. I know exactly how you feel. I've gone down that exact path before, and I would love to reach out to you one-on-one and discuss what it feels like to have to go down this path. And when I say this exact path, I mean people harassing me because some people had published bald-faced lies, blatant lies, straight-up defamation against me. People believed it without checking, and I got harassed to no end, and the stress from that harassment inflicted me with physical injury, not just mental health, but physical injuries that required me to be hospitalized. I could have died from the physical injuries. So I know exactly what that's like. It happened to me just a few short years ago, and I'm currently in court trying to hold those people accountable. I would be honored if you would agree to sit down with me over Discord DM or some other kind of one-on-one talking, and I could discuss with you all of this crap that I've had to go through, because you do have people out there, people like me, who've been through exactly what you've been through. Honestly, maybe you and I could engage in talks regarding starting up a support group for people like you and me. Online personalities, quasi-public figures who have had their reputations ruined by bald-faced lies. Yeah, let's actually get together and talk about that stuff. What do you say? And last but not least, he says that he does not know if he's going to continue making YouTube videos. Chuggaa, even if you don't want to reach out to me personally, please take this bit of advice. Don't stop making videos. And it's not just because we, your fans, still want to see it. It's also because if you do, then your haters win. They were trying to cancel you. You know what canceling means? Like when a TV show gets canceled, that means it's not going to get any new episodes made. If you decide to stop making videos, they will have succeeded in canceling your channel. You cannot afford to let them have that victory. If you do, that will only encourage people in the future to continue to spread these false allegations just to get for clout for their own for themselves, to benefit themselves, and also just to cancel anybody they don't like. It doesn't have to be true. That's the message you will be sending to these people. You have to stand up to these bullies. That's why I didn't stop making videos. I switched to shorts because at least in my experience, shorts tend to work out a lot better for me. But I did not stop making videos entirely. And you can't either. Because if you do, you're just going to be encouraging them. And you can't encourage them. Maybe this is just me, but I don't back down from bullies. That's why I'd rather sue them for slander than just give in and fuck off to my own corner of the internet and stop making videos anymore. I'm gonna stand up for myself. You should too. So, please don't stop. Stand up to the bullies. And for the record, you don't even have to continue doing Let's Plays, or even just funny gaming videos either. Like, I pivoted. You can too. I mean, the reason I pivoted had nothing to do with the trolls and harassment I received, but you could pivot to something that more adequately fits your current demeanor. Like, for instance, want to continue doing these highly silly, funny as hell Let's Play videos? Okay, how about pivoting to something a bit more serious, like, say, video game-based video essays? You can still do gaming, and just instead just do like story analysis and reviews, and just be a bit more serious because you're not really in the mood to be cracking jokes. That's a great thing you could do. You could pivot to just about any kind of format, but one thing you absolutely should not do is just give the haters what they want. So, because of that, with all of that said, I really hope Chuggaa agrees to take me up on this offer, to reach out to me personally. That said, I am Acer Thorn, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.